Oh, I love you.
Hey, what up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of P.O.L Game Review. IntraVenus here, and I'm back with more PSP GEMS. This time, we're taking a look at hack and slash games, the hack and slashers. Now, I'm going to sum it up real easy for you at the beginning of this episode. All of these games share similarities to one popular game series, and that's God of War. So let's start out, before we do our 5 games, just to recap on 2 games that you have to play on the PSP, called God of War Chains of Olympus and God of War Ghost of Sparta. Let's take a look. God of War Chains of Olympus is an action-adventure hack-and-slash video game developed by Ready at Dawn and Santa Monica Studio and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was first released on the PlayStation Portable handheld console on March 4th, 2008. The game is the 4th installment in the God of War series, the 2nd chronologically, and a prequel to the original God of War. It is loosely based on Greek mythology and set in ancient Greece, with vengeance as its central motive. The player controls Kratos, a Spartan warrior who serves the Olympian gods. Kratos is guided by the goddess Athena, who instructs him to find the sun god Helios, as the dream god Morpheus has caused many of the gods to slumber in Helios' absence. With the power of the sun and the aid of the Titan Atlas, Morpheus and the Queen of the Underworld Persephone intend to destroy the pillar of the world and in turn Olympus. God of War Ghost of Sparta is an action-adventure hack-and-slash video game also developed by Ready at Dawn and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was first released on the PlayStation Portable handheld console on November 2nd, 2010. The game is the 6th installment in the God of War series and the 4th chronologically. In this episode of Kratos' adventures, Kratos is still haunted by the visions of his mortal past and decides to explore his origins. In Atlantis, he finds his mother Callisto, who claims that his brother Deimos is still alive. Kratos journeys to the domain of death to rescue his brother. After initial resentment from Deimos, the brothers team up to battle the god of death, Thanatos. So that'll give you an idea of where we're going for the rest of the games in this episode. I didn't really want to include the God of War games in this episode as official games listed because I talked about one of them briefly in our first PSP GEMS episode when this was a fledgling series, and the other one is so popular, you know, I just thought I should show you a little bit and give you an idea. So now let's get to our first official game of this episode, is Dante's Inferno. Very dark, very adult, not for the kids. It has graphic violence and nudity, and it's based on a comic book series and more. Let's take a look at Dante's Inferno on the PSP. Dante's Inferno is a 2010 action-adventure hack-and-slash game developed by Visceral Games and published by Electronic Arts. The game was released for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the PlayStation Portable in February of 2010. The PSP version was developed by Artificial Mind and Movement, a direct-to-DVD animated movie based on the video game titled Dante's Inferno. An animated epic was released simultaneously with it. The game's story is loosely based on Inferno, the first of Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. It follows Dante, imagined as a Templar knight from the Crusades, who, guided by the spirit of the poet Virgil, must fight through the 9 circles of hell to rescue Beatrice from the clutches of Lucifer himself. In the game, players control Dante from a third-person perspective. His primary weapon is a scythe that can be used in a series of combination attacks and finishing moves. Many attack combinations and abilities can be unlocked in exchange for souls, an in-game currency that is collected upon defeating enemies. Before the game's release, Dante's Inferno underwent a prominent, elaborate, and at times controversial marketing campaign led by the game's publisher, Electronic Arts. This included the release of a fake religious game called Mass, We Pray, a motion controller-based game supposedly allowing players to engage in an interactive prayer and church sermon. The game received received generally positive reviews upon release. Critics praised the gameplay, art direction, voice acting, story, sound design, and its depiction of hell.
Impossible.
Dante's Inferno is nothing to shake a stick at. This game is very serious, and perhaps the PSP is not the best way to experience it, but if you want to, and you have a PSP, well, you best darn pick this one up, because it's a good one. And like I said, don't be getting this one for your children. This is for the older teenagers and us adults, as this game contains a lot of adult content. And a lot of, questionable things right on the barrier regarding religion and what you may consider politically correct today. This game has a little bit more of a robust upgrade system than a lot of these other games, and I feel like you have a lot more options as to where you want to put your points and get your moves in. I highly suggest you check out Dante's Inferno on whatever console. Next up, we're going to take a look at a Hellboy game that's loosely based on the movies for the PlayStation Portable. Now, this game is actually very colorful, and it's pretty darn fun, and I suggest you check it out. Well, let's take a look at some gameplay right now, and I'll tell you some more about Hellboy, the Science of Evil, on the PlayStation Portable. Hellboy, the Science of Evil is a video game adapted from the 2004 Hellboy film by Guillermo del Toro. Based on the comic book character of the same name, it was released for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the PlayStation Portable on June 24, 2008 in North America, followed by a release later in Europe and Australia. All versions follow the same storyline. However, the PSP version of the game differs from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions. There are 3 playable characters: Hellboy, Abe Sapien, and Liz Sherman. Lobster Johnson was planned to be included as a playable character voiced by none other than Bruce Campbell, but the DLC was never released. Herman von Klempt is the game's main villain, along with several of his minions. The game has online and offline multiplayer co-op for up to 2 players. The game was created under the creative direction of both the comic book's creator Mike Mignola and the film's director Guillermo del Toro. Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, and Doug Jones reprised their roles from the film as Hellboy, Liz Sherman, and Abe Sapien, respectively, providing voiceovers. It might be most fun to play it on the PlayStation Portable, as the PSP was supporting sort of the graphical styles of the previous generation, compared to the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. I'm having fun with the game as I'm playing through it now, and I think it's worth a go. So go ahead and check out Hellboy, The Science of Evil on PSP. Next up, we're going to continue with another game that is also based on a comic book, and this is from Marvel's Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider came out on many platforms, and it plays very similarly to God of War, with its own little special quirks. This is the game you should play, so let's take a look at some gameplay for Ghost Rider on the PSP. Ghost Rider is a third-person action hack-and-slash game developed by Climax Action and Magic Pockets and published by 2K Games. It is based on the film of the same name and was released for the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation Portable, and the Game Boy Advance in 2007. An Xbox version of the game was originally planned for release, but it was then later canceled. The game's storyline is drawn from the movie and was penned by Marvel writers Garth Ennis and Jimmy Palmiotti. Players can play as Ghost Rider both on foot or on the Hell Cycle. The game features villains from both the movie and the comics, including Scarecrow, Death Watch, and Lilith. The game received mixed reviews for the PlayStation 2 and Game Boy Advance versions, and mixed to negative reviews for the PSP version. I'm thinking the mixed negative reviews for the PSP version were because they kind of streamlined it quite a bit and cut out any cutscenes or transitions and made it more of like separated each level into these missions where you have certain goals that you can try to hit, like certain time limits, certain amount of hits and kills. And though I like the one on the PlayStation 2 better for sure, if you're on the PSP, you're on the go, and you want some hack and slash fun, well, pick up Ghost Rider from Marvel on the PlayStation Portable. I think it's worth a try. Alright, next up we have a game for all you Lord of the Rings fans out there. Don't forget there's a new TV show coming out soon to Amazon Prime, just in a few months, I believe. This is The Lord of the Rings with Aragorn's Quest. Let's take a look at some gameplay.
So we made our way down the mountain.
The Lord of the Rings Aragorn's Quest is an action-adventure hack-and-slash video game released in 2010 by WB Games on various Nintendo and Sony platforms, with Headstrong Games developing a Wii version and TT Fusion developing the game on other platforms. The game is an adaptation of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings film trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Set 15 years after the War of the Ring, the game features Samwise Gamgee telling his children of the adventures of Aragorn during the conflict. His stories form the majority of the game's content. Aragorn's Quest was the first Lord of the Rings game released by WB Games, who had acquired the rights to make games based on New Line Cinema film series from Electronic Arts in 2009. The game was aimed primarily at younger players, offering a simplified and less violent version of the plots of the three films. It received mixed reviews. The game's graphics, level design, and accessibility were praised, but critics found the combat repetitive, the narrative too truncated, and the overall game too easy. So what do you think about Aragorn's Quest? I find it that on the PSP they made it a little more hack and slash of a game and action adventure hack and slash, whereas the PS2 version is a little more like a dungeon crawler. There's items that you can get and equip, though they aren't varied, and there's not a whole lot of customization here, though the graphics are decent, the gameplay is fun, and the interludes are entertaining. I suggest you check out Aragorn's Quest on any console, but why not the PlayStation Portable? Alright, last but kind of least is X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is definitely a hack and slash game with a lot of combat, a lot of action, and there can be some fun to it, though it's a little glitchy. It seems to be slightly underdeveloped or maybe rushed, as most games based on movies are, but there is some fun to be had in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Probably more than the actual film. Let's take a look at some gameplay. X-Men Origins Wolverine is a hack-and-slash action-adventure game featuring the Marvel Comics character Wolverine and loosely based on the film of the same name. The game release coincided with the release of the film on May 1st, 2009 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Windows, Wii, PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, and of course, the PlayStation Portable. A version of the game was also released for mobile phones. The game was developed primarily by Raven Software through the use of the Unreal Engine technology. The standard version was released for the PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, Wii, which is rated by Teen, and Nintendo DS, which is rated by an E10+, while the Uncaged edition was released for the PS3, Xbox 360, and Microsoft Windows, receiving a mature rating M for more violence. The PSP game right here, as you'll be seeing in this gameplay, is pretty violent itself. So, following the expiration of Activision's licensing deal with Marvel, the game was delisted and removed from all digital storefronts on January 1st, 2014. It was the final Wolverine game published by Activision before the license expired. It was also the last standalone Wolverine video game to be released until the announcement of Marvel's Wolverine, currently being developed by Insomniac Games and to be published by Sony Interactive Entertainment for the PlayStation 5. yes, this game plays all right. It's worth a try. Hack and slash games, the best part about them is they don't take a whole lot of thought. You just get in there and try to get in as many combos, as many slashes, as many hacks as possible. So Wolverine does that for you, and it probably can give you a little more entertainment than the movie might have, as a lot of us know. So thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the episode, as that was our final game for this one. Technically, we covered 7 games in this episode, and I have you all voting now in the polls on my community page as to which you would like the topic to be for our next PSP GEMS episode. Right now, it looks like Spider-Man games are winning, but we'll see. If you like this and you stuck around this long, please hit the like and subscribe button, as it really helps me out and encourages me to make more videos for you to enjoy. So, until next time,
I'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Woke up, doing the choke, I'm lost in the smoking, I'm coughing and coping, I don't want to joke, I'm just lost in the moment, I'm cooking the oceans of all these emotions, sipping the potion, what's all the commotion, been giving these notions, but nobody's noticed.